going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Happy Friday. We're going to talk about what's going to be a very active week weather-wise for the East Coast, especially the Mid-Atlantic. We're going to talk about the storm threat, what we've been talking about for the last couple of days. Two storm threats. We're really going to talk about that second one. Washington, D.C., I'm talking really on you guys. Y'all have a chance to really break y'all's snow drought and really get some accumulating snow. North Carolina, you're still in the game. I'm not going to totally take y'all out the game yet, but there has been some model shifts that really took the Carolinas kind of out of it. But we're going to break things down and really talk about how much these things are going to change. It's still Friday evening. So we're going to break it down. If you guys haven't subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button because this is a very good active week. Probably one of the most active winter weeks for the East Coast in probably a month or so. So hit that subscribe button. Stay up to date. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and thank y'all for tuning in. So let's get going. So the winter weather outlook is definitely honing in on the threat next week. I've been talking for a while, if you've been following along, for the potential for two threats this week. It seems like I've been talking about it for a week or so, and everybody else has too. But this is basically your chance for a quarter-inch liquid equivalent to snow, sleet, winter weather, basically. So obviously for Tuesday, this is really showing up for that first storm. Bullseye right over Pennsylvania. It's probably going to be kind of hard to see in your screen, but Philadelphia's right here. Washington, D.C.'s right here. New York City's over here. This first storm is really going to be hard to get north. And the second storm especially is not going to get as far north. So New York City, I think you'll be cold enough with the storm, but can you get heavy enough precipitation to get to you guys? But the core of the heaviest stuff is going to be right here in Pennsylvania for sure. It's going to be borderline for Washington, D.C. for the first storm. I do think areas just north will get more. And it's really the second storm that's worth mentioning for you guys. But as we get into day 3, there's not much of a threat here, but this is really what we got to watch out for. Next Thursday, there's a huge area, and there's very low confidence on this. Is a 10 to 30% chance of the winter precipitation. Still low confidence of where it's going to occur. Friday, it kind of shifts that way east because it depends on the timing of the storm. Will it be a Wednesday night into Thursday storm? Will it be a Thursday night into Friday? Will it just be a Thursday event? So we're just not sure here. So latest GFS, the latest 18Z GFS, and like I said, models have trended north. It's not good for areas south for winter weather lovers like me. In South Carolina, where I'm located, it was a long shot anyways. But we're going to talk about North Carolina. You still have a chance. There's still a chance. Things can shift drastically. We are still decently far out. But check out this first system. This is a pretty big system. You got the upper level low doing some super heavy snow back here. I'm talking, it's thumping. It's snowing hard, fast in places in Chicago, areas of Iowa, northern Illinois. This is some heavy snow breaking out as we get into next week, early next week. But check it out. Got some cold air here in northern Virginia, areas of West Virginia, Maryland. But you think this is about to turn into a big storm for the Northeast, but it just doesn't. Low pressure really gets far out here, and it does not ride the Northeast coast and turn to a nor'eastern like you really want if you want a big snow for the I-95 corridor up to Boston. But New York City could still get something out of this, but we're going to watch. I just don't think there's a heavy enough precipitation, but it might be a moderate event. It's really hard to still iron out the details for this first storm, and definitely the second storm. But here comes the second storm. You got low pressure way up here. That's already a no-go and a no-no for areas in the southeast. This might actually turn to a warm, for this time of the year, heavy rain, which really stinks as we're in. Usually, I always say the last week of January is always one of the coldest climate-wise weeks of really anybody, weeks of the year for anybody in the U.S. Climate-wise. But here comes this storm. Same areas might be hitting snow off this one as they did with the first one. But check it out here. Low pressure starts to get off the coast here. And it's even almost too warm for most of the mountains for snow in this scenario. But you notice when we were talking about the storm last night, a big chunk of North Carolina and Virginia was in heavy snow. It's not the case anymore. The low pressure is shifting north. It's going over land now. and it's not way out here. You need the low pressure to track off the coast of the Carolinas here, and so in the high pressure, wherever it is, it looks like it's way on up there. There's not much going on. You need this to push this down. It helps the northern stream push the cold air down and really funnel in cold air into the storm more south. It's not going to happen. But a good thing that's going to happen is our areas from Washington, D.C. has the chance to get slammed. The GFS really hits you guys hard, Washington, D.C. I'm going to show you the snowfall accumulation here in a second. But this is some heavy, heavy snow for areas of the northern half of Virginia, Washington, D.C., areas of Delaware, getting into southern New Jersey, southern areas of Pennsylvania getting hit again. Very wintry week for the mid-Atlantic. And instead of the low pressure, what you think it's going to do here is you would think it would keep shifting on here, but it doesn't. It's like it almost heads due southeast. But the thing is, it's a strong low pressure, and more cold air gets pushed in this thing. Cold air gets all the way to the coast, and even areas of the coastal areas of Virginia, Delaware, eastern areas of Maryland are just getting slammed with heavy snow as the coastal low is really intensifying and pulling away. And then that's it. That's all she wrote with that. So if you look at the snowfall accumulations off the GFS, you're about to see a very impressive setup. So that's the first storm. Granted, this is ice. There's going to be an icing event somewhere. And let's see, eastern West Virginia, northern areas of Virginia, and places of Maryland. There's going to be some kind of ice corridor right here that's really going to develop. And here comes the next storm. And look how much snow it throws really close to Washington, D.C., but especially for areas right here in northern Virginia. This is almost a foot of snow between both storms. Really a potential here for some heavy snow here. So it's definitely something we got to watch out for. If you look at the if you look at the GFS ensembles here, there's a signal for the first storm, and you keep going in time, and here's the signal for the second storm. So this goes all the way through about pretty much the last week of the last day of January. That is a strong signal here in the mid-Atlantic, southern areas in the northeast for winter weather. Now, it's sad news for North Carolina and even areas of southern Virginia. It's really trended away so far, but let me tell you guys, things could trend right back. It's not over yet. It's not over yet, but Washington, D.C. definitely looks to be in a decently good spot right now. You look at the Canadian model, it's very similar. You get to the system here. Let's see, it's moving very, very slow here. So let's see if we can speed it up here. The Canadian model, so as we start flipping going through here the Canadian model, we get through here in time. And now keep in mind the Canadian model has a cold bias, but it hasn't done bad. It seems like it's improving somewhat. It's not as horrendous as a model as it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But it shows kind of the same scenario. It looks like Washington, D.C., for instance, misses out in the first storm, but turns out into a decently moderate snowfall event. And the Canadian has it reaching all the way to Boston, just to Boston, and not any further north. It's like a strong cutoff. But here comes the next storm. Low pressure rides, gets off the coast, intensifies. It wants to throw more snow from more Virginia, and even more snow back into North Carolina a little bit. But it's the same scenario. The low pressure is intensifying big time. Heavy snow just southeast of Washington, D.C. It tries to get to New York City. It doesn't quite make it, though. But either way, this is a big storm. But then it has the storms trying to go more northeast instead of just east, which is going to flirt with areas of the coastal areas in the northeast. So we'll have to watch that. It looks like Cape Cod actually gets hit in this scenario. The Canadian here. We'll look at the snowfall accumulations off the Canadian. First system, moderate event, nothing crazy. Second system, there's a bullseye right over here in Delaware up to southern New Jersey, areas of Maryland, and areas of far eastern, what would you call it, central eastern Virginia there. But this is a really good event for areas that have not seen a big snow I've not seen a lot of big events lately. I guess I'll leave it at that. But we'll look at the European model here. This is all the operational runs we're going through. First storm, like I said, it looks like y'all miss in Washington, D.C. with the first one, but just north, and I know this always seems to be the story for you guys, y'all are getting hit with a potential ice event. It looks like it tries to get to New York City, and it makes it. And I don't think New York City is going to see a lot of snow off this, but we'll have to watch it. I think the storm just kind of loses some steam, but here comes the second storm. I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be interesting to see what the European does tonight. The European, it's the only model that does this, and this is our second storm. Sure, it shows some snow in North Carolina and snow in most of Virginia, and it's a good bit, and it's colder than the other runs so far. And we'll have to watch to see what it does overnight because it might trend to the other models. But it's not that robust of a system, meaning it's not that strong. There's not a lot of heavy precipitation with it. It's just not a lot going on. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, the precipitation is so light with this scenario that's actually showing it falling as rain where the lighter stuff is. If you notice, it's the darker stuff showing up as blue, but the lighter stuff is showing as rain, when if it was heavier, it would probably be snow. So, you know, and if we look at the, basically, I'm not even going to show the European operational run because, I mean, it's pretty puny. It's not much going on. Few inches of snow in Virginia and parts of North Carolina. But this is the European ensembles. There's still that signal in North Carolina, so that's what we have to watch out. And there's still a signal right here. But there's the bigger signal is obviously in Pennsylvania, closer to Washington D.C. So that being said, you know, there's still a signal that just the European really isn't as aggressive with that second storm as all the others. So I think it might be off. That's my thinking. I think it's going to come in much more aggressive overnight. But we're going to watch here. This is the Washington D.C. GEFS. Basically, it's basically the GFS, the ensemble members here. It's 30 different runs put together, ran together to create a mean. So 30 different scenarios. Now you have some pretty big scenarios in here, like this 14-inch snow. It might skew the mean a little bit, but still, you got a decent mean of around 4 inches for both events. So, I think anybody in Washington D.C. would take 4 inches of snow as far, because I mean y'all have not had a lot going on lately. So, Richmond, Virginia, felt like this is a good city to show because they were getting shown to get hit pretty good at the earlier runs over the last couple of days, but not so much now. You know, you got a mean of an inch, so it's not that impressive. When we go down to Raleigh, which I know a lot of people like to hear about, and there's nothing going on. You got this one huge run showing 7 inches, but it's one run. All the other ones are puny. So, you know, the signal from North Carolina kind of went away, I'll be honest. But there's still plenty of time for us to figure out what this is going to do. We got a whole weekend. The model runs over the weekend are going to be super important. So we're going to try to have to figure this one out because it's still shifting. But if they continue to shift north or kind of stay where they are over the next couple of days, then I think we're going to have a good idea what this thing's going to do. But that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a good Friday evening, and I'll have y'all another update tomorrow.